The final moments of this story reveal deaths so bizarre and disturbing that medical experts still can't explain them decades later. Viewer discretion is advised. But before we get started, if you enjoy grisly and mysterious true stories, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss our weekly uploads. Now, let's begin. On the morning of January 23rd, 1959, 10 experienced hikers gathered at a train station in Sverdlovsk, Russia. They were about to embark on what should have been a challenging but routine skiing expedition through the northern Ural Mountains. The group was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, a charismatic and highly respected mountaineering instructor. His team included 8 men and 2 women, all of them skilled outdoors people with significant experience in winter hiking and survival. The expedition was classified as a Category 3 hike, the most difficult level. But for this group, it was well within their capabilities. They were young, fit, and prepared, carrying everything needed for a harsh winter journey. Their destination was Otorten Mountain, a name that, in the native Mansi language, eerily translates to "don't go there." But these hikers weren't superstitious. They were scientists and engineers, rational, logical, and confident in their skill. The first leg of the journey was smooth. They traveled by train, then by bus, and finally began skiing on January 27th. But the next day, one of the hikers, Yuri Yudin, fell ill with joint pain and had to turn back. As he said goodbye to his 9 friends, he had no idea he would never see them again. The remaining group pressed on through the snow, documenting everything in diaries and photographs. Spirits were high. They laughed, made fires, and pushed forward, undeterred by the freezing conditions. Their last known entry was made on February 1st, when they set up camp on a mountain slope called Kolitsayakal. In Mansi, that means dead mountain. They never moved from that location again. When the group failed to return by February 12th, families grew worried. By February 20th, a search mission was launched. Volunteers, soldiers, and students combed the trail, hoping to find the hikers delayed, or maybe injured but alive. On February 26, 1959, the rescue party trudging through the brutal snow of the Ural Mountains stumbled upon something that would spark one of the most perplexing mysteries in Russian history. They had been searching tirelessly for days, hoping to find the missing hikers delayed by the weather or holed up in some temporary shelter. But what they discovered was anything but hopeful. Perched on the slope of Kolitsayakal, Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language, stood the hiker's tent, half buried in snow and utterly silent. But even at first glance, something seemed terribly wrong. The tent had been slashed open from the inside, as if someone inside had been so desperate to escape that they didn't even use the door. Inside the tent, everything was undisturbed. Boots were neatly placed. Jackets, hats, and gloves were all there. Their food supplies were intact. It looked as if the group had been calmly preparing for sleep. And then, in an instant, something changed everything. Outside the tent, the mystery deepened. In the snow were 9 distinct sets of footprints leading away from the shelter and down the mountain toward the forest. Some prints were barefoot. Others wore socks. A few had only one shoe. But there were no signs of panic. The tracks were methodical, almost deliberate, walking in a straight line, not running, not staggering. It was as if the group was evacuating in a calm, organized way. But why would 9 experienced hikers, who understood the lethal dangers of exposure, walk nearly a mile into the woods in the middle of the night in freezing temperatures of -30 degrees Fahrenheit, without proper clothing? At the edge of the forest, beneath a towering cedar tree, the searchers found the first 2 bodies. They were wearing nothing but underwear and light shirts. It was Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, and another male hiker. Their hands were cut and scraped, and oddly, branches 15 feet high had been snapped off the tree above them. Investigators believe they may have attempted to climb it, perhaps to scout for the tent, or to escape something or someone. Beneath the tree were remnants of a small fire, as if they had tried desperately to stay warm, even as the bitter cold set in. Between the tent and the cedar tree lay another body, Rustam Slobodin. He was face down in the snow, apparently headed back toward the tent when he collapsed. His skull was fractured, but again, there were no external signs of violence, no bruises, no bleeding. The injury was baffling, as if some unseen force had done the damage without leaving a mark. 2 months later, as the snow thawed in May, the remaining 4 hikers were discovered in a nearby ravine. They were dressed more appropriately for the cold, suggesting they may have taken clothing from the dead. But what truly horrified investigators were their injuries. One hiker had massive chest fractures, her ribs crushed as if she had been struck by a car. Another had a shattered skull. One woman, Ludmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, both eyes, and parts of her facial tissue. And yet, once again, there were no external wounds to match the severity of their injuries. No bruises, no skin damage, no signs of struggle or violence. It was as though their bones had shattered from the inside. Even stranger, the surrounding snow was undisturbed. There were no additional footprints, no animal tracks, no sign of an avalanche, no other human presence. And some of the hikers' clothing tested positive for traces of radiation, levels higher than normal background exposure, though not immediately lethal. Still, it raised disturbing questions. Where had the radiation come from? And why only on specific garments? The Soviet government launched an investigation, but their conclusion, vague and unsatisfying, was that the hikers had been killed by a compelling natural force. No further explanation was offered. The case was quickly classified, the files locked away. To the families and the public, it felt like a cover-up. Rumors spread fast. Some believed the hikers had encountered secret military weapons testing. Others claimed a government experiment had gone wrong. Whispers of UFOs, escaped prisoners, hostile locals, and even supernatural entities crept into the conversation. Years passed. The mystery endured. Then, in 2019, Russian officials reopened the investigation. This time, they offered a new theory, an unusual type of avalanche known as a slab avalanche. According to this version of events, the group had set up camp in an area susceptible to a delayed snow shift. A buildup of compacted snow above the tent may have collapsed silently or cracked in a way that alarmed the hikers. Panicked, they slashed open the tent to escape, thinking it was about to be buried. Once outside, they likely became disoriented in the dark, and hypothermia quickly set in. Some stripped off clothing due to a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing, in which extreme cold causes a burning sensation, confusing the brain into thinking the body is overheating. But this theory doesn't answer all the questions. Why would seasoned hikers, who knew avalanche safety protocols, pitch a tent in a risky location to begin with? Why didn't they use the tent's entrance to escape? Why flee downhill, where an avalanche would follow, instead of to the sides? And again, how did injuries comparable to a high-speed car crash occur without any external trauma? More confusing still, modern avalanche experts who examine the site have said that the slope simply wasn't steep enough to generate the kind of snow movement described by officials. In fact, no debris from a collapse was ever found. The terrain didn't support it. The logic didn't hold. So what had happened? Imagine this. You're in your tent, warm, with friends you trust. You've done this before. You've skied across frozen terrain. You've faced howling winds and snowstorms. You're not afraid. But then, something so terrifying occurs that you're compelled to rip your way out of the tent and abandon everything. No boots, no jackets, just fear and snow and darkness. You walk, not run. You stay close together. You try to build a fire. You try to climb a tree. You try to survive, but the cold is merciless. Your body fails. Your judgment breaks down. You make mistakes, and slowly you freeze. That's one theory, but that still doesn't explain the broken bones without bruises, the missing tongue, the radiation, the footprints in a calm, straight line. These weren't panicked, irrational people. These are trained survivalists. Intelligent, methodical. What did they encounter that left them no option but to walk to their deaths? The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, and it's likely we'll never truly know what happened that night. Dead Mountain keeps its secrets well. Today, the area is named Dyatlov Pass. A monument stands in the snow, 9 faces carved in stone, frozen in time. Hikers who visit the site report strange sounds, electronic malfunctions, and an eerie, overwhelming dread. Whatever happened that night on Dead Mountain may remain one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. Sometimes, it's not the monsters that haunt us, but the impossible choices people are forced to make in moments of true fear. And in the Dyatlov Pass incident, that fear may have died with them. If you found this story chilling, subscribe to our channel for more mysterious deep dives every week.